Thank you. Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Program directors, President Thabo Mbeki, former president of our republic, we thank you for being here. And we thank you for not only being here, but we are delighted that we are following in the footsteps that you laid to have this moment happening. We thank you for that. You did not only, together with the father of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, direct that this should happen, but you were also there in exile with a number of the comrades who lie here, especially our former Secretary General Dumanokwe, whose remains also lie here. So this moment is special for you as well, because you in many ways have been part of this whole process, and you lived through it and you experienced it. So thank you for being here. We honor you and we appreciate what you initiated. So thank you very much. Ministers and deputy ministers who are here present, the Premier of Gauteng, who is not here but represented by his MEC, the leadership of the African National Congress and the leadership of the Pan-Africanist Congress, and other liberation movements who are here as well, stalwarts and veterans of our liberation movements, traditional leaders who are here present with us, and our faith healers who are also here, who played an important role in enabling this moment to also take place. Your Excellencies, High Commissioners, and other ambassadors who are here with us present today, key officials in our government who also enabled this occasion to happen in the organized way that it is happening, the leadership of the military high command, the command of our military and the police who are here, and the Chief of the National Defense Force, General Mapanyo, friends and distinguished guests, but more importantly, the families of those we are reburying here today. We thank you for being here and we honor you. Minister Mackenzie, I didn't know that you regard those who think that you are happy as being liars. Because today you told us the truth, that they are liars because they are not telling the truth. The real truth is that you are very, very happy to be minister. Now, when I called Minister Mackenzie, as we were putting together the government, I called him 3 times. First, I called him and said, the Secretary General is talking to all parties, and I'd like you to be on hand to receive the Secretary General's calls. And he said, no, don't worry, President, we'll be ready. So I called him again, and just to keep him warm, because I was ensuring that the GNU does take off, as the Secretary General leading our team carried on with his work. So I called him again, and this time I found him in a movie house. He was watching a movie, And I said, no, don't. He said, I'm in a movie house. I said, no, don't worry, I'll talk to you later. He says, no, I'm coming out now. I said, what are you watching? He says, I'm watching Bad Boys. Bad Boys 2. So I just said, no, all I was doing was to call you and say, the discussions are going on and you are part of them. Don't worry, we'll call you again. So when I called him the third time was to inform him that I would have wanted to meet you, as I often meet all those who are about to be appointed to cabinet. I said, we don't have the time, we're rushing, but I've been talking to you, and I just wanted to let you know that I'd like to appoint you as the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. And he said, thank you very much, Mr. President, thank you. And then I put the phone down. Then he called me back. And he said, Mr. President, did I hear you correctly? I said, yes. No, he says, no, I'm saying so because I'd given my phone to my guards, as he called them. He now has protectors. He says, I gave my phone to my guards and I said, the president will call, the president will call. And when I didn't call for a while, they laughed at him. They said, you said the president would call. He never called you. So he wanted to go back to them and he tell them that he called. I'm now minister. Minister Mackenzie, we very pleased with the work that you've done, because you've really done a phenomenal task here. But I'll talk about that in a little while. Comrades and friends and colleagues, we are here today to celebrate the return to our soil of the remains of heroes and heroines of our struggle for freedom. Now, through this act of repatriation, what we are essentially doing is to reinstate their nationhood, their citizenship, their South Africanness, and their humanity. We are returning them to the land of their birth. We restore them to their families and to their people. And we're pleased that their families are here, because through this we are also paying tribute to their families. Families who went through a lot of anguish and pain and depression and sadness over the years. And we pay tribute to you all for having gone through all that, and in fact, you sacrificed immensely. Decades ago, these freedom fighters left a country that was at war with itself. They left a country in which the fundamental rights of its people were brutally and cruelly suppressed by a system of apartheid, which was declared a crime against humanity, a fact that I recalled at the United Nations General Assembly a few days ago, when I applauded the General Assembly for having declared apartheid a crime against humanity. Today, their remains return to a free and democratic South Africa. It will forever remain a source of regret that these men and women who lie here were never to see the dawn of the freedom to which they dedicated their lives, to which they sacrificed so much. It is fitting that we gather at Freedom Park to honor them, because it is here at Freedom Park that we remember our struggle for liberation and the many men and women who fought so that we may be free. It is here that we celebrate the achievement of our democracy. And it is here that we pledge to strive together, sparing neither strength nor courage until the fundamental freedoms of every South African are realized. Through the repatriation of the remains of these freedom fighters, we are giving further effect to the preamble to our Constitution. In the preamble, we are enjoined to recognize the injustices of our past and honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land. We are called on to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. While these freedom fighters belonged to different political parties and different political traditions, they were united by a common vision of a free South Africa. And though they departed this life many years ago, their ideals and values continue to guide the South Africa that we are building today. Their activism and their sacrifices continue to inspire our efforts to build a better life for all South Africans. As we welcome these patriots back home, we owe our everlasting gratitude to the countries that offered these freedom fighters shelter, that offer them support, and in the end, a fitting resting place. We are grateful in this instance to the governments and the peoples of Zambia and Zimbabwe for having taken great care of our compatriots and for enabling their remains to be repatriated. We say thank you, and let's give them a good round of applause. Like other countries on our continent and in other parts of the world, they stood along us in our struggle for freedom. They hosted our freedom fighters as the frontline states. They provided material assistance and support. These countries dedicated themselves to our cause. Our cause became their cause, often at a great cost to themselves and to their people. Our fallen heroes and heroines became part of the people of these sister countries. Today's ceremony brings us closer together. We've just heard about the dignified ceremonies that were held in Zambia and Zimbabwe. I'm told they were more than dignified, and they were attended at the highest level. And this in itself speaks volumes for the manner in which our sister countries who sacrifice so much regard us, our struggle, and our future. We are hopeful that we may work with the authorities of those countries to promote the memorialization of our shared struggles. We hope that we may promote education, tourism, people-to-people exchange. Exactly 2 months ago, the global community under UNESCO World Heritage umbrella approved the declaration of the World Heritage Sites in South Africa termed the Human Rights, Liberation and Reconciliation Sites. The distinguished delegation of Zambia to the World Heritage Committee tabled the proposal and was supported by all other committee members. Today is an opportunity to renew our commitment to the African Liberation Heritage Program that is led by Tanzania. And today's ceremony must build on the emerging government-wide collaboration on cultural heritage and the memory of all our freedom fighters. We must work with education and heritage stakeholders to ensure that the names and contributions of these African freedom fighters are known and appreciated by generations. We must build memorials, yes, memorials, to the sacrifice, to the resilience and solidarity that characterized this profound friendship between our countries. We must also undertake memorial activities that showcase the innovation of our people across all disciplines, across shared industries as well. While we remember these heroes and heroines through monuments and acts of memory, ultimately the greatest tribute that we can pay to them is to build a South Africa in which all people are free and equal. And we must honor their memories by working with greater determination to lift the people of South Africa out of poverty and create employment and opportunity. That will be the best memorial that we can build for the people who sacrifice so much, who are lying before us. We must work to end all forms of violence, particularly violence against women and children. And we must build safe homes and safe communities. We must tear down the divisions between black and white, between men and women, and between rich and poor. The return of these freedom fighters reminds us of the caliber of activists that led us on the path of democracy. It reminds us that whenever we are, or wherever we are, and whatever we do, we are called upon to be the agents of change. We are called upon to be activists. In our actions, in our conduct, we must follow the examples of these men and women who lie here. And we must strive for unity and not division. And we must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity and probity. The journey of these patriots reflects the powerful and irreversible ties of solidarity and friendship amongst Africans and the peoples of the world. Having just returned from the UN General Assembly, where we attended one of the main actions that we sought to attend, which was the Summit of the Future. At that historic gathering, the representatives of various countries and humanity, I'll call them, raised their voices in support of effective multilateralism and sustainable development, and underlined sustainable development. They reaffirmed their commitment to global justice, peace, and equitable system of international governance. As a country, our experiences of struggle and solidarity propel us to continue to work vigorously for a better Africa and a better world. Our commitment to international peace, wherever peace is required, whether it is in Ukraine, whether it is in the Sudan, whether it is in the Sahel region, whether it is in northern Mozambique or eastern DRC, and whether it is in Gaza, we as South Africans must always be on the forefront of justice and respect for human rights. That is where we belong, and that is where we must continue advocating for. We will continue to stand opposed to any form of colonialism of apartheid anywhere, and we will continue to stand with the people of Palestine. We stand with the people of Western Sahara. Like the compatriots that we honor today, we know that freedom is indivisible. The remains of these freedom fighters remind us of the price of freedom. We owe it to their memory to make sure that no other generation and no other people have to pay the price they have paid. There are many departments, institutions, and individuals who have worked tirelessly over the course of several years to make the repatriation of these compatriots possible today. The governments, the High Commission, Embassy, and relevant authorities of Zambia and Zimbabwe have provided invaluable support. This project was made possible, yes, as I said, by the outstanding vision that was started by Nelson Mandela, continued by President Thabo Mbeki, and we are now continuing with it. But this is where the government, intergovernment cooperation has been at its best and underpinned, yes, by the government of national unity. Who would ever have thought that a minister from another party that, much as a relative of his, has also suffered during this period of apartheid, devastation and tyranny. But who would ever have thought that this program would be pushed through by a minister who's not an ANC minister, taking forward the work that was started by an ANC minister. So we thank you for that. This is the government of national unity at work. The various departments have worked together. Sports, culture, worked together with the Defense Ministry, and all the ministers, all the deputy ministers have worked together. Department of Home Affairs ensured that families received passports and were able to visit the burial sites of their loved ones. And so we say thank you to Home Affairs. Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, through the TRC unit, mobilized and supported the families. The National Prosecuting Authority, through the Missing Persons Task Team, together with the South African Heritage Resources Agency, exhumed and examined the remains. That is important. And this is where science also played a key role through the DNA process, and some are still going to continue happening. And this is where the dedication of our officials was also seen in full play. The Department of Health facilitated the correct permits were issued for the mortal remains to enter borders. South African National Defence Force has brought our heroes and heroines home and has opened up its facility at one military hospital to put the remains of our compatriots there. The return of these remains from Zambia and Zimbabwe mark the start of a process to return the remains of fallen freedom fighters from several other countries. This marks the beginning, and we are going to continue because we must bring them all home. They must come home. The Exile Repatriation Project will continue in fulfillment of the duty that we owe to those who fought for our freedom, to their families, and to the generations to come. South Africans need to know who these people are and the contributions that these returned freedom fighters have made. Some of them are well known. Duma Nokwe, who was Secretary General of the African National Congress at a crucial moment in our struggle for liberation, is here. In exile, he was a prominent voice of the continent and around the world in support of the cause of the people of South Africa. It is perhaps a sign of his esteemed place in the history of the liberation movement that his remains were exhumed, still wearing, Secretary General Mbalula, the ANC scarf in which he was buried in Lusaka in 1979. John Nyati Pokela was the chairman of the Central Committee of the Pan-Africanist Congress, who spent more than a decade on Robben Island for his activities as a member of the Azanian People's Liberation Army, then known as POCO. He is remembered for the vital role he played in forging unity within the PAC, and he passed away sadly in Harare in 1985. Another prominent leader of the PAC was Edwin Litsolo Makoti. He was a founding member of the PAC, as we've heard, and was Secretary for Publicity and Information in the PAC Central Committee at the time of his passing in Harare in 1989. We all know the name of Florence Moposho, a stalwart in the struggle who is remembered for her commitment and sacrifice and fiery spirit. She was a great leader of our movement and a pioneer in the struggle for women's rights. She helped us understand that no society can be free until its women are free. The name of Basil February is also written large in the history of our struggle. As a member of the Lutuli detachment of Mkhonto Wesizwe, he was killed in action in the then Rhodesia during the Wankie campaign. There are some people who were part of the Wankie campaign who I saw here. We also welcome home the remains of Tot Machikiza, a composer, musician, and writer of great renown and achievement. His music and his writing earned him much acclaim, but it also earned him the ire of the apartheid state, which banned many of his works and forced upon him years in exile. He passed away in Lusaka in 1968. There are other freedom fighters who we honor here today, whose names are not as familiar, and yet their sacrifice and their contribution to our freedom is no less profound and is no less valued. We know their names. They lie here before us. And those that we have brought from Zimbabwe are Balungile Shembe, John Maru, Madoda Mnyoli, Clayton Zele, Bafana Duma, Edwin Makoti, Edna Mgabaza, Victor Nxumalo, Patrick Litlalo, Frank Nkosi, Ngangule Kachwa, Judson Kuzwayo, Andrew Mashaba, David Opa Mkhobu, John Nyati Pokela, Basil February. From Zambia, Vernon Mudli, Todd Machikiza, Adolphus Mvemve, Vincent Khumalo, Stanley Puti Molefe, Thabo Mbele, Masichaba Mbele, Duma Nokwe, Philip Jezile, Bethwell Tamana, Joseph Parker Tsiye, Florence Moposho, Tsepo Mudise, Bennett Sibanyoni, Leslie Dube, Lakiso Kulu, Aaron Tiro, Luvuyo Mutswenyani, Obrisi Pomdleche, Hepson Nkositeta Njamela, Simon Kehla Maswanganyi, Lindile Maneli, Klas Mabe Bukhosing, Ishmael Luatle, Ntende Ngqeqe, MK Trevor. Those are the 42. These names will forever be inscribed here at the wall of names in Freedom Park, so that we may never forget. Now, Freedom Park is continuing to record the history of our struggle, right from the time when our forebears fought against invaders and colonizers. As you go around this place, you'll find their stories, their names, and these are going to be added, and many more will be added. This is a sacred place. This is a place of memory. This is a place that talks about us, about our struggle, and about our history. Any nation that values its freedom holds its liberation heroes and heroines in high regard. We are therefore, as a government, making every effort to preserve our liberation heritage. To do so, we must honor all those who authored this history by taking part in the struggle to free our country. This we must continue to do because our freedom can never be taken for granted. We must continue to honor those men and women whose love for their country and its people motivated them to sacrifice their lives for freedom. Now, I have given Minister Mackenzie another instruction. I have said, which he possibly would have spoken about, I have said I want a memo on how we can create a hero's acre for the heroes of our country. Now, as I travel, President Mbeki will testify to this, as I travel to other countries, to Zimbabwe, as I travel to Namibia. I haven't seen the one in Mozambique. I've seen the ones in Zimbabwe and Namibia. They have created just incredible heroes' acres where the heroes of their struggle are buried. And those memorial sites have in many ways become sacred places of the nation. Now, of course, we may well argue our leaders and heroes are buried all over the country, but it does not mean that the monuments that memorialize them cannot be brought together at a hero's acre. And this is where we should be going. So Minister Mackenzie has another task. And if you say he's happy about it, you'll be lying, because he's very, very excited to take on this task. So I'd like us to move forward to create a great memorial of the heroes who lie buried in South African soil, who, if not buried there, will be memorialized there through various monuments. This is a great day of commemoration. It's a great day to memorialize and to remember those who lie before us. And it is with this that I once again ask that let us stand up and pay our honor to the heroines and heroes who lie here, and be silent just for a minute in honor of them. Thank you. We may be seated. Thank you very much.
If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. And as always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.